A couple of years ago, I was watching a video here on YouTube regarding a crystalline grid that is being made around our planet as we speak. And I have been dealing with the chemtrails for a very long time, been recording on the road since 2012, and I have a front row seat to what's actually going on up in the sky. And I got several different videos, and I think I'm gonna make a playlist, so in order, if anybody wants to pick up on it and take interest in what's going on. But what really got me started on my train of thoughts here in the last 24 hours is that Kathleen Cisco says something to me, something I had no flipping clue about. I have never heard about this before, but this is very interesting what she's saying here. She's saying that I'm thinking about the time of the Toba explosion 70,000 years ago. The jet stream was actually reversed, which allowed the early civilization to cross from the Yucatan through the West Indies to the Mediterranean. And then the top of the Gulf Stream would facilitate crossing east to west. That would give some explanation to the spirals commonly found on early pottery. Yeah, we all seen the spiral, and everybody is associating that spiral, unfortunately, to the Norway spiral when Mr. Obama was in Norway receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for actually instigating more violence and war here on Earth. But it's all part of the plan to keep us distracted. Well, the early civilization had a Gulf Stream that was a left-hand spiral, and at a time later, perhaps 20,000 years ago, another reversal happened and the Gulf Stream became a right-hand spiral. If there is a planet-sun approaching, it would not conform to gravity as we understand it. Dr. Claudia Alberts, who is an astrophysicist living in, I think it's in Brazil, she's located, and she's not part of the so-called mainstream, like, what is his freaking name? Mikio Kukuk, or his name is Mikio Kaku, but I call him Kukuk because he sounds like he's nuts. Explains her theory about this, and I suspect that our sun is producing gas spheres. You have all seen a video once, those who are interested in this realm regarding space, that there's this video footage where the light is in green, and you can see that there's this gigantic sphere leaving the surface of the sun. I mean, literally, it's huge. It's way larger than planet Earth, and it just like pops out of the sun's surface. And I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere on YouTube regarding NASA's footage. I mean, just do a search called sphere leaving the sun or whatever. Or maybe I can find the link myself so you can just go click on it. But it's definitely showing a sphere, like a bubble is leaving the sun's surface, and it's gigantic. Okay, and then she says, Dr. Alberts explained her theory about this. I suspect that our sun is producing gas spheres that proceed into the inner planet's orbits. These gas spheres basically a condensed, highly magnetic cloud. It would also be insubstantial as almost no identity in the sky. Its sole identifying characteristic is that it magnetically refracts. This is why we see hazy orbs in the sky, meaning we are not seeing Nibiru, Planet X, but we're seeing something else. And maybe that something else is the result of this planetary system that is in our system right now and has been for quite some time. And we will later discover the negative effects from that. Now, she says, I suspect that the gas sphere fully envelops the Earth. We will experience a brief abeyance of gravity in elevated areas, similar to the effects when the pre-Inca built the monolithic stone structures in the Andes. Yeah, how did they get that stuff up there, these gigantic rocks? Yeah, that's a good question. We might have a dim sun, but high energy at the most basic biological level. I believe the sun is living. And yeah, just everything is alive in one form or another. It's all about frequency, it's all about vibration, it's all about energy, all of it. And Tesla knew that. And he had the answer, and he is probably the smartest scientific genius that has ever walked this planet. And all his knowledge is now being used for evil, unfortunately. But, well, that's what you can expect from the military-industrial complex, of course. Well, the immersion would be similar to what W. Thornhill. I've been trying to look this person up and I can't find this person. I come up with all kinds of different stuff and nothing about a scientist. Described as being off the surface of a planet bathed in the radiation of a brown dwarf. And she says, I believe an additional effect would be massive falls of water. Huh. Maybe that pertains to the flood. All these effects would depend upon if and how deep Earth is immersed into the brown dwarfs, the gas sphere's gaseous cloud. That's what she said. And I honestly said to her, I've never heard about this before, but I better look into it. But I didn't look so far. There's a video I just uploaded prior to this video, which is called PlanetX. Dr. Claudia Albers guest star. She's an astrophysicist, and she's, as I said, not part of this cult of scientists that is leading us into a scientific dictatorship, such as trying to sell the package of global warming as a man-made disease, or now they have renamed it to climate change, which I say, well, that happens 4 times a year on planet Earth. We got spring, we got summer, we got fall, we got winter, and then the cycle goes on and on and on. We got 4 seasons. That's climate change. Now, thinking about the crystalline grid that they are trying to create around planet Earth in order to protect us against something from outside. Now, why would they do that? What is wrong? Since they need to build a crystalline grid around planet Earth. It sounds very far-fetched, right? Oh, this is very ungodly. This sounds like New Age. No, this is science. Okay? Science. It has nothing to do with religion or non-religion. This is just what they describe is being done as we speak. Has been doing that for 2 decades now. So why are they doing that? Well, back in 2008, Nibiru shock came with a revelation to the YouTube community by posting a leaked picture of a brown dwarf, a picture which was taken by the South Pole Telescope. Now, why would they build a telescope on the farthest region on planet Earth, in the most inhospitable environment, where the sun never sets? Why would they do that? Why would they be so secretive about it? That's a good question. And why did the Vatican go in and take a mountain in Arizona, Mount Graham, literally steal it from the natives and put a telescope up there, which they are calling the Lucifer telescope? I mean, just the name, Lucifer. And who is Lucifer? Well, he's the evil one, right? He's the fallen one, the deranged one. But he's also referred to as the serpent, also referred to as a dragon. And if you look at ancient mythology, all cultures or big civilizations are speaking to a dragon. But it's a dragon which is in the sky. It's not a dragon running around here on planet Earth eating people and spewing fire, as ancient stories, or not ancient, but medieval stories about Prince Charming was running out on a horseback in armor and fighting a fire-spewing dragon and saving the princess. That's hogwash. It has nothing to do with that. That's just some, let's make some money on something crappy. It's not the case. And one of my subscribers, I can't remember your name, I'm sorry about that, sir, but you were speaking towards something that was very interesting, that really made me think. And I'm going to look that up right now, and that's coming from the Revelation. And here I'm, of course, taking from the King James Bible, because that's the original Bible, or translation of the Septuagint. And that is in Revelation 12:4. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven. Now, heaven, that's up there, okay? We got three heavens, right? We got the heaven, the first one, that's where the birds on the airplanes fly around in. The second heaven is space, and the third heaven is God's realm. Now, so here in the King James Version, we are speaking to the second heaven, where the stars are and the planets are. And I don't want to discuss this flat earth or non-flat earth bullshit. This is not what this is about. I think we're all misinterpreting all of it. And I think it's been done on purpose. There's an agenda behind this. And he says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child soon as it was born. Oh, that was in Revelation 12, which were on September 23rd at sunrise, where all the planets were situated in the vicinity of the star constellation Leo, Leo representing King. The only planet who was not represented in that constellation is Saturn. And Saturn has always been, and still is, the serpent representing evil. And if we look at the so-called Masons and the Illuminatis and other Rosicrucians and other occult evil cults, they all represent the cube, and the cube represents Saturn. Just like the hat that the university graduates throw up into the sky and celebrate how freaking smart they just were, because now they got a flipping diploma from the university and now they know everything. They don't know jack shit. They know what they've been told, and they have learned to repeat and recite. They haven't learned to think for themselves, because if they had been thinking for themselves while they were studying, they would give an F and not an A, because that's how that society is. Repetition. That's what it's all about. It's not about true knowledge. Because if they really were that true knowledge, there would be a lot of things changing. And that is not in their best interests. So, going back to the crystalline. But she's talking about the loop current, right? And in 2010, when I had my, delusion of grandeur during the Gulf oil spill, I mean, I was hotshot, and so what? It's not important. But I told you that on June 12th, in 2010, a few months after the the Deepwater Horizon blew up and the seafloor in the Gulf of Mexico blew up, the loop current went from 4.6 meters per second in flow underwater to 2.3, half the force. And I told you back then, and on a Intel Hub radio show being flanked by the late A.C. Griffiths, who is a former CIA. They probably got rid of him because, once CIA, always CIA. You leave, you a liability. So maybe he contracted something that would cause his demise, meaning now he's unfortunately dead. I do though have a little relic from him, that was that he bought me a telephone, and he made his autograph on the backside because he knew, and he told me that in person on the phone, not on radio show, that he knew that the things that I was speaking about regarding the Gulf oil spill was true and accurate. Now, why would they blow up the loop current or the Gulf seafloor? Well, as I have said, they blew it up to destroy it, and the loop current is no longer a loop current. It's just a vague little running on its last breath. Now, I said to you back in 2010 and the following year that the reason for why they did that was to be able to take control over the jet stream. The jet stream is a very high velocity, high powered wind that is running around from west to east on the northern hemisphere. It is an airflow that is up in the upper atmosphere, which is running pretty much as fast as a jet airliner is flying, some 570 miles per hour. It is extremely fast. That one is what is controlling with the jet stream. Actually, the jet stream was controlling the loop current was controlling the jet stream and keeping it in the correct position. But now we have seen on the wind images that I also have videos about that our jet stream is broken up. Our jet stream is seeking further south on the northern hemisphere and is creating havoc. And we know that. Now, they have all these NEXRAD weather modification devices placed all over the planet now, especially the northern hemisphere. Not so much the southern hemisphere because, well, there is a lot of people living there, but it's not the so-called modern, industrialized, informed world. mostly pertain to Australia, India, parts of Africa, South America, New Zealand, south of equator, and they are not as in per, what do you want to call that, per capita, the most informed people, such as up on the Western Hemisphere or the Northern Hemisphere. And that is not to put anyone down or anything like that. Not at all. It has nothing to do with that. I'm not saying that you are not better than us or something like that. But it is up on the Northern Hemisphere that the vast majority of the populace is living. And it is there where the so-called, all the well-educated people are living, who are able to ask questions about alpha and omega and so on. So, and they're selling the package of global warming, climate change to the Northern Hemisphere, not so much the Southern Hemisphere. And there is also a division line between the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere regarding weather patterns. They are not exchanging that much. They are kind of two separate systems. There's the Southern Hemisphere's weather system, and then there's the Northern Hemisphere weather system. But in this case, it's the Northern Hemisphere weather system that is in the sight of those who are in control. So that's just what I wanted to say, that the reason for why they killed the loop current was to take control over the jet stream, so they themselves can control the weather. Now, why would you want to control the weather? Well, lots of people are thinking, well, they want to control the weather in order to control the crops. Now, that could be true, and it is probably true too, but it's not all. It begs the question, why would you want to gather all seeds from the entire planet in one single location on some very distant islands out in the North Sea, above the polar circle, or Arctic circle, on an island called Svalbard, which belongs to Norway. There they are storing the original seeds, which is not what you would call terminator seeds, like Monsanto seeds are. They're terminator seeds. That means the seed can only be used once, and the plant, such as corn or other products that is genetically modified by Monsanto, they don't produce seeds that can be used for another growing season. Now you have to go back to Monsanto and buy more of these seeds in order to make a profit or make a living. That's how they are constructed. But they are having all the non-terminating seeds stored on Svalbard in a seed vault. We know that, and you can look it up if you don't believe me. Now, why would you want to do that? Why is that so important? Well, something is happening, and something big is going to happen. Something so drastically that it will turn our lives upside down. Well, a World War III will turn our lives upside down. But that's not what I'm thinking about. I am thinking about changes on a global scale in a sequence of events that is also described in the book of Revelation. And that pertains to the wrath of our Lord, when he's going to shake us once and for all because of our disobedience. That is what I'm referring to. And this is here the dragon comes in. Now, all these cultures have talked about a dragon. And these cultures, or civilizations, are referring to this dragon from being something in heavens. Up there, not on earth, but up there. And they are referring to it directly in literature, in petroglyphs, in drawings, in cave walls, and so on. And the youngest one of the prophecies coming from Mother Shipton. And she is very precise in what she's saying. And Mother Shipton is from the 12th century. And she's saying, a fiery dragon across the sky, 5 times this earth shall die. This fiery dragon is what I just read to you from the King James Version. It is those 7 so-called heads, that is those planets orbiting the fiery dragon, and they're dragging across the sky and will be cast down to earth, meaning we're going to have a fire rain, fire and brimstone, and 1/3 of the trees shall burn, and all the green grass shall burn up. That is a significant event for all of us. 1/3 of the trees, and I in my video regarding supervolcano is melting the Antarctic ice sheet on the southwest part of Antarctica right now. I was referring to that the CO2 is not our culprit. CO2 is our friend, because in the trees CO2 is transformed into oxygen for us to breathe. Now imagine 1/3 of all the trees are burned up. What significance would that have on oxygen production for us to breathe? It's going to be pretty suffocating experience for all of us. I mean, this is going to be profound. There will be people that is literally going to suffocate to death because they cannot get enough oxygen. That is a significant event, no matter how you twist and turn it, and how much doom and gloom you think it is. This is something that's going to happen, and it's caused by something that is up in the sky, in heaven, in space, which is already in our system, who is already in the vicinity of our own sun. And that's why our sun is no longer yellowish. That is why our sun is bright white and impossible to look at. That's why the sun has changed. And I don't want to hear about, oh, they got a fake sun simulator up there. They might have, but that's not the one that is giving the light we are seeing on Earth today. It's still our sun, but our sun is in turmoil because of the presence of this fiery dragon. Period. And Nibiru, the concept Nibiru, is not a planet. It's not a brown dwarf. It's a flipping spaceship the size of a planet. And I want you to think about Star Wars. That's what it is. Nibiru is the Death Star. The fiery dragon is a brown dwarf with 7 orbiting planets. Yes. So the evil ones are actually inhabiting the Death Star, or Nibiru, the spacecraft. That's where they are residing. They're not residing on the freaking fiery dragon, okay? I mean, that makes sense. Why would it be there? Okay. Now, just to go back to the crystalline, and I was thinking, this crystalline grid they are making around planet Earth, that according to this video is to protect us against something in space, something that will be devastating to planet Earth. And without this crystalline grid, we would pretty much be screwed. Okay? That would be a slim window of survival for any of us if this crystalline grid is not being made. And we are not being told all the truth. But regarding controlling the weather, we have this system sitting next to our sun. Our sun is reacting very negatively on that. Our weather patterns has changed over the last decade. It's getting worse and worse. So the weather control, by destroying the loop current to take control over the jet stream, by therefore to control our weather in a manner that is tolerable to us. Okay? Because if they haven't done that, we might have a weather pattern now on planet Earth that would make it impossible for the society to run itself. And the world would be cast into complete chaos, and everything would be out of control. We will live in a situation like Mad Max, or the movie The Road, or the Book of Eli. A world like that. That is not something that is nice to think about, is it? But that would be the case if they don't control the weather. And we can call it for the greater good, or we can call it whatever it is. Maybe there's a very good reason for why they're doing what they're doing, even though that is not nice, because there's a lot of people that's going to suffer from it, and there's going to be a lot of people who's not going to suffer from it. So it's kind of like, you can call it a necessary evil, what they're doing. But that don't mean that they are innocent. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're trying to make or maintain status quo by controlling the weather in the fashion that they're doing it. And that pops up a few hurricanes here and there, and that pops up some tornadoes here and there, and the tornadoes frequency has risen, but that's probably a byproduct of the weather modification that they are creating. I'm not saying that they're not creating storms, such as Hurricane Harvey. We saw something was shot at from Mexico towards the hurricane, and Hurricane Harvey changed direction and hit straight on Galveston and Houston. And they've been building up hydroglacial plumes of clouds in the counties surrounding Houston to fence in this hurricane. So I'm not saying they're not manipulating and trying to do harm and punishing Texas for being as conservative as they are, protecting the borders of America. We know that the Democrats want everybody just to walk over the border and ruin America. Right? We know that. All this conspiracy stuff, yeah, we know that. And that's part of this whole conundrum that we are finding ourselves in right now. And it's also a way of making us distracted and not looking into what I am sitting and talking about as an example. And others are talking about as an example. So I'm looking up crystalline metals. This metal here is called bismuth. Well, it's not aluminum, it's not barium. But we got here titanium crystal. Right there. I know for a fact that they're spraying titanium in the atmosphere with the chemtrails. And this is the molecular structure of crystalline microstructure in pure metals. Oh, that is interesting, isn't it? These structures are strong. They are very refractive, such as titanium is extremely refractive, meaning it's tolerating extreme excessive heat and a lot of tear and wear, friction, such on. And they look like this. Now, what I want you to pay attention to in these pictures I'm showing you here, that's the structure of it. Look at the geometrical lines that's building up these crystalline metals, right? And I'm talking about the crystalline grid that they're building around planet Earth in the atmosphere. Now look closely on that, right? Remember these shapes. Here we got crystalline aluminum. That's the grid. And I know for a fact that aluminum oxide, which this is almost as hard as diamond. Extremely durable. And aluminum oxide is being sprayed out of the airplanes in large quantities. Tons. Thousands of tons. And here is barium in crystalline setup. This is the image of barium in crystalline form. This is what it looks like. But remember the geometrical shapes. That's important. You remember the geometrical shapes that I just showed you here. And I want you to remember these images here, which is in micrometers under electronic microscope, microscope. This is how they're looking in the deepest down structure of metals and salts. They are also spraying salts. So just keep that in your head. Remember these images I just showed you. Barium, right? How that look. Like that. Aluminum. The structure of aluminum in its grid form. This is a ruby. Right? Beautiful crystal. Very beautiful. Oh, if you want to think about that kind of stuff, well, ruby is part of my astrology sign. Aries, that's my jewel. Oh, yeah, whatever. But remember these structures I'm just showing you here, how they look. Now let me take you to the sky, right there, and you say, oh, yeah. Well, look at this area right there. Let me zoom in on it. This is 16 megapixel camera. And it's taking some damn good pictures. Now, I have talked to you in 2 videos. I talked about structures in the chemtrails. I'll put that on the link underneath. So you can go sum up on that. But what are you seeing here? I'm asking you a question. What are you seeing? You're seeing geometrical shapes, much similar to what you're seeing here. Look at this crystal as an example. Let me take this one. That one is the most profound one of them. Look at the structures. Squares. Just take a look at that. Super interesting looking, right? Go back here. And let's take a little over there. See that? You see the squares? You see the crystalline grid? I think you do. This is picture 1 out of 160 pictures I have in this folder regarding chemtrails, taken over the last 2 weeks. You see the geometrical patterns? Let's go back here. Right there. You see that? Very similar. Let's go down to the bottom. Look at all this stuff. You see, you got geometrical patterns in it. Zoom out just a couple of times. You see it? This is chemtrails. Right? And that's not PlanetX. is a lens flare. Let's take the next image. See what that shows. Oh, it's the image of the same sky. So let's take another picture. Not that one. Like that. Right? This is what I call the canopy. It's a very, very thin sheet of these molecular clouds, which is able to completely obstruct the sun. I mean, you can see where the sun is, but you can't freaking see the sun disk. That's impossible. You just see this white blare. And it's still zooming and working on it, I think. Yeah, we're there. Where it's clear enough for you to see. And let it shift. It's a big image. Lots of megapixels to work with here. But you can clearly see that there are structures. Geometrical structures. Look there. It's profound. You can't see that from the ground. You need to take a picture of it with a high megapixel resolution. And then you will have to zoom in and look at it. You can't see with the naked eye. But you can freaking see it there. Look at that. You see it? So this is what's going on with the chemtrails. This is what they're doing. Not so much the weather control. Look at the geometrical patterns again. It's structured. Clearly structured. See that? And up here is the sun. Completely buried behind that. So that's what you're looking at. You are looking at the making of this crystalline grid. Right before your eyes, they are enveloping our planet in this toxic soup, which it is, unfortunately. There is no other way around it. And as I said, I don't subscribe to the term for the greater good. But if you bear with me for a moment and thinking about if they're not doing it, what would be the life for humans, animals, and other living organisms on planet Earth if this were not being done? Still not approving of what they're doing, because it's toxic and they got other evil schemes up in their sleeve to suppress us and keep us suppressed. That's unfortunately how they think, because they're pure evil, because they are led by their God, who is Satan. That is their God. But again, you can see the geometrical patterns. They're not always exactly visible, but they are there. You see the square cloud here. We don't have square clouds, but yes, we do. When they are being manipulated by the NextRad system, correct? You will get these shapes, squares. I mean, what the heck is that? Look at that. There's flipping lines in it. It's strange, isn't it? And here again, all we need to do is zoom in. And you will see this crystalline grid, which is being made right before our eyes. I'm not saying that I hit the head on the nail here, but I believe I'm pretty darn close. That this is what is going on. Right before our eyes, without you thinking about it and, you know, reflecting on it. We are seeing it. Just look here, zoom in on the micro detail. It will take a little while. Let's go down and up, right there. Was that the right spot? Yeah, I think it was. Let me see, zoom out. Yeah, right there. See that? Geometrical pattern structures. Much like crystals. And here's a fresh trail laid out. And in there you already see the structures being built. See if there's anything over here that is standing out. Zoom out again. No, not so much. Here's another picture of the same. I always take a couple because one might be not as good, and maybe number 2 or number 3 is in complete focus. But now the sky has changed a little. This is the sun hiding behind the canopy. But look at that. Look at these structures we got. Let's go up in the upper area here. And there you can see the structures. Can you see it? It literally looked like a canvas that is being painted. They literally do. It is bizarre. Look how this looks diffuse. This is the sun. But let's focus on this little area right there. You can already, with your naked eye, kind of sense that there's something going on there. Oh yeah, there are. And sure there is. Look at it. You see that? It is just like this. Just like it. See it? I hope you do. Barium. Look at the structures. You see that? They look similar. And we know that they're spraying aluminum, they're spraying barium, they're spraying copper, they're spraying titanium, they're spraying antimony. Some samples have shown traces of arsenic, which is disturbing. But yeah, I mean, they want to get rid of us. We know that from the Georgia Guidestones. They want us down to 500 million people. So that makes perfect sense what they're doing. But look at it. You see it? Can you see the structures? I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. There's no mistake here. This is exactly what they're doing. And here you see chemtrails shredding. This is in Georgetown, Texas, on the toll road 130. I'm on my way to San Marcos. And here you see a cloud, which is a real cloud, being completely shredded by chemtrails, ripping it apart. This is the remnant of the cloud. It's just being ripped apart, eaten up by the chemtrails. All the moisture from the cloud is being sucked up by the chemtrails. And here's coming a picture from further out in the horizon. Oh, that turned on. There. 2 seconds, let me shut it off. This is loud. Can you see that? You can see all the real clouds are being shredded to pieces by the chemtrails that is in our atmosphere. It's very clear. You see it? All this stuff here, this fussiness, this is what was real clouds being ripped apart by the particulates that they're spraying. Again, adding to the construction of this crystalline grid that they are doing. Now this could be a lens flare. I'm not saying it is, but it might be a lens flare. It might be a little far-fetched of me saying that maybe this is one of those spheres that, what was her name? Kathleen Cisco was talking about, that people are seeing in our sky and think it's a planetoid. But it is not. It might be that gaseous sphere as you speak to. Those spheres that is leaving the sun's surface. And if you look at it again, not so much the sphere, but looking over here, here we again see the crystalline grid. Right here in this area, look at it. It's coming. Come. Move. Now. Thank you. You see it? Right there. You see these structures? They're crystalline. I have never thought about it like this before. Man, thank you, Kathleen. You really set something afloat in my brain. Let's look at this little section there. You can already kind of sense, if I haven't already said it to you, I don't think I have. When you watch my videos like this, you need to be full screen. And you don't need to be on your freaking phone, because you can't see the details. You have to look at it at a screen, at least 16 inches, in order to get sense of it. Already here, before it zooms in, you can see geometrical patterns. Let's take this one first. Coming here. You already see it here. You see it up here. I mean, the whole part of this cloud here, or chemtrail cloud, is crystalline. So let's go over this to the other side. And hopefully it will show up in the near future. Man, my computer is working hard on this. Very hard. But you can see it. That was too much. So we need to go a little over there. How about just zoom out a little? But you can see that. This one is peculiar. Very peculiar. If you ask me. You see that? There it is. Look at all the structures in it. It would be better to do this. And I can keep it in focus. I can center it. So let's do that. Come on, work faster, please. Okay, there it is. You see that? Crystalline shapes. I'm seriously convinced that that is what is going on right before our eyes. And we are not being informed about it. And there's a very good reason for that. Can you imagine that our now sitting president come out in a press conference saying, "Dear fellow citizens of the United States, dear citizens of the world, we have a problem. And the problem is this. We have another solar system within our own system. And within a foreseeable future, this world will no longer be the world that we know it." Can you imagine the pandemonium in the streets the next day, or the following hour, of that announcement, everything will be out of control. Everything. And it's not going to be pleasant to be a human being. It's going to be a carnage. Yeah. You cannot even imagine. But you see it here again. Crystalline structures. Right there. Right in front of us. This is very interesting. That's just a picture. Looked funny. That's also on the toll road. Coming back again from San Antonio. Just a couple of those. And sunset. Pretty boring weather that day. Tell you that. It wasn't raining. It was just like that all day. And high winds. Still windy out there. Today is sunny. That's just a few. It's not super important. And here we got real clouds for a change. It's rare, but we do have them. And here again, look at that. Interesting, right? Now, look at this picture very closely. Don't think crystalline here. I want you to think air pollution. As I was speaking about in the supervolcano, if you stretch your finger out or your arm out in front of you and close your fist and let your index finger stretch, and then you line it up with the horizon, and then you can see this backdrop, as I call it, or the carpet. And that is because you're looking through the atmosphere and you're looking through all the pollution, the air pollution that is in our sky. And this image here clearly illustrates that. Look how much crap there is in our atmosphere. Can you see it? We are breathing this stuff. And it's super harmful to us because it's metals. Just look at that. Talk about pollution. Yeah. And it's not of human activity. It's for airplane activity. That for the last 2 decades have been spraying this stuff in our atmosphere without informing us of why they're doing it. And I remember Bill Gates was talking about solar management. Shielding us from the sunlight. Yeah, why? Because what's coming from the sun right now, because of the presence of the other system, is harmful. It's going to hurt us. And this is why they're making this crystalline grid, to protect us. You see it here. Here's a classic example of what I'm talking about. Look here, up here the sky is kind of bluish, right? You see that? Now, that was that finger's width I was talking about. Right over the horizon. Look at the density. Can you see it? You see a clear demarcation line between the darkness here, the reddishness from the sunlight when it's setting. Right there, there's the demarcation line, and then it's all right. You see it? Of course you do. Or you would be blind. That's what I was talking about. That's the density of the air pollution as it is right now. Looks bizarre, doesn't it? Look at the lines. Where the heck did they come from? There's so many clouds covering and shadowing the sun, and yet we get these weird lines through the sky. You see them? I can't explain that. This is Fort Smith. This is Fort Smith, Arkansas. No more than some 10 minutes after sunset, I took these pictures. It looks like the sky is on fire. Most of it is chemtrails. Looks bizarre. It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all, because all this is chemtrails. And up here again, even after sunset, you can still see the crystalline. It's there. It doesn't go away. Because even if our sun is not shining on us and it's night, Earth is still being bombarded with harmful rays in the interaction between the brown dwarf and our sun, spewing out ions in quantities that if these ions was penetrating Earth's atmosphere, hitting Earth, I think life will cease to exist on Earth. It will be fried. It will destroy our cells, even in plant life. Now, what are those lines? What the heck is making these lines? I don't get it. I mean, what is that? I mean, look at that, how they're cutting the clouds. It is so surreal to look at. See that? The line cutting the cloud. It is bizarre. I seriously don't get it. Look at that. How many times have you not seen this? This is Oklahoma, in a little city called Red Oak. I was sleeping there, and I was so fortunate to be pointing in the direction of the sun with sunrise. And how many times have we not seen the sky look like that prior to sunrise? Well, I can witness that I have seen it hundreds of times now. It is becoming more the norm than the exception. And again we see the crystalline right there. Maybe, not sure about that, maybe sunrise and sunset has the most devastating effect from the interaction between the sun and the brown dwarf, that they are forced to give us this nasty, hideous sunrise, or sunset for that matter, in order to double protect us against these harmful radiation frequencies that we are receiving from that interaction. But you clearly see that. You see that? This is crystalline. All of it. Go down here in the reddishness. Look at that. Let's go back here. See if I can find that exact picture. Da, da, da. I mean, something like that coming up. That was pretty similar, don't it? Let's see what we have here. It's very interesting how similar they look. Tons of examples. I think it's very interesting. And there was one in particular I was looking at that pertained to exactly what we were looking at there. I mean, we got some of it there. Yeah, it's kind of disturbing, isn't it? Look at that. Crystaline. Look at that. See it? It's right in our face. All over. There's no protection against this. They have to do it. They got no choice. Even though it's harmful. Very harmful. So maybe the idea of genetically modified crops is in reality for us to merely survive, even though that GMO is harmful. But at least the GMO can grow in this ever-changing environment that we are living in right now. And when you see the effects of it, and you see the frequency of spray days are ever increasing, what will logic tell you there? I mean, it's quite obvious. The interaction between the sun and the brown dwarf are making it more and more difficult for them and for us to maintain status quo. You get my point? Day by day it's getting worse and worse. The impact of what that combination of exchange of energy that these two heavenly bodies, our sun and the brown dwarf, have with each other. By the minute, it's getting worse. And that's why they're stepping up this brain. And that's why David Keith, the so-called leader of the geoengineering program, was talking about that they're going to add or step up the spraying in our atmosphere. And he was saying something that really made me peed off, literally. He was saying that we have to hold up against each other by spraying or not spraying. And we have to consider it as a free ride on our grandchildren. Meaning that he knows that what is being done in our atmosphere with all this spraying is extremely harmful to all living organisms, not just humans and animals, plants, organic life. This saturation of metals. And while you're looking at this, you're seeing the crystalline grid, seeing it right now. He's not going anywhere, people. They're going to step it up and step it up until they can't keep it under control anymore, and then all hell is going to break loose. Kind of makes me think about the movie The Knowing, where the little girl with the picture of Ezekiel looking at God's throne, and the Ezekiel wheels around it, and she has painted the sun yellow, and she's saying, "It's the sun." And what happens in the movie there? Something, a massive flare is being shot off from the sun's surface, hitting the earth. I don't think that's going to be the scenario, but it might get pretty darn close to that in the last days, the last 3.5 years that we have before 1,000 years peace and a rebuilding. Because I believe when this is all over, we will not recognize the 21st century. We will be in an environment mostly like in the movie The Road, the Book of Eli. In the Book of Eli, the earth was scorched and the atmosphere was damaged, so that if you were outside you would need to wear sunglasses or you would go blind, because the sun's light has changed and now is harmful, right? And again we see Crystaline. This is a fairly recent spray that I'm having a picture of here. That was from yesterday, actually. You look over to the side, and you see it right there. Crystaline. Sharp edges. Look at that. See that? Clouds, real clouds, do not form squares. End of story. Nature do not form that, especially not clouds. But these happens to do that, right? Why is that? Let me show you. Right up here. Where was it? Oh, man, I lost it, I guess. Where was it? You're seeing it there. Laid out on the flat plane. You see the squares? Stages doing the solidification in metals. Squares. Squares. Right before your eyes. Now, I'm seeing this in a completely different picture now. Totally different. They have to do this. They don't have a choice. They will not be able to maintain status quo if they're not doing it. And life on Earth would be rapidly altered. And it will lead the world into complete chaos. We will have war. We will have pestilences and disease. We already have it. We will have distress of nations. We already have it. We already have wars and rumors of wars. Right? It's already here. You can't escape Luke 21. You can't escape Matthew 24. You just can't. Because it's already here. Look at this. Just look at it. And marvel. What the heck is that? That's Crystaline. That's what it is. I'm looking at this on a completely different level now. Not just as, an evil agenda against humanity. I'm seeing the chemtrail spraying now as a feeble attempt from the scientific community, the scientific dictatorship, attempting to maintain status quo. Because if they didn't do that, as I have said a couple of times now, the life on planet Earth would be dramatically different today if they didn't do it. So this is what's going on. They are making a crystalline grid to protect us, protect themselves, of course, mostly, because they have a place to go underground when they know the time is near. Yet they're going to ask for the rocks to fall upon them and hide them from the wrath of our Lord, because in reality they don't even themselves know how devastating it's actually going to be. They're actually going to wish to die. Literally. Just, oh man, let me just die. I don't want to go through this. Well, that's not a choice of yours. That's a choice he makes. Our Lord. He decides whether you live or die when it comes to the wrath. And again, look at that. Oh man, talk about crystalline grid. That's right now. It's profound. And how many times have you not seen this? And wondered, what is this? Well, you have it from my mouth. You are having the crystalline grid. Look at these structures down. And look at that. Ring a bell? It should. Because that is what we're looking at. Looking at crystals. Large crystals. You see that? Can you see the similarity here? Just look at that. Just look at it. Seriously, look at it. Look at it. It's the same. This is just in 200 nanometers. I mean, this is small. You can't see this with the naked eye. Only an electron microscope can see this. But you can see it in macro. Right now. So what we are having is, we are having micro in the sky as macro. That's what we're looking at. All crystalline. All of it. And that is why that these so-called canopy clouds, as I call them, these crystal clouds that they are able to completely block out the sun. Can you see the sun here? No. Had this been real clouds, you would be able to see the sun where it is. Can you guess where it's sitting? It's sitting right down. But you can't see it. But it's freaking right down. Because the next couple of pictures are going to show you that is right down where I pointed. Coming. See, it's completely blocked out. You can't see it. You can only see the light. The disk is gone. It's simply not there. And I wanted to pay it, remember that I'm actually having a camera now that is taking some astounding good pictures. 16 megapixels is not bad for a phone camera. It's pretty good. And it's pretty detailed, as you see. You see that? Oh man. Look closely on this, right there, okay? And let's go back to Google search. Got it right there. Right? Just look at it. And I mean, it's amazing. Totally amazing. Got it right in our faces. That really opened my eyes. What are we looking at? This is not just some weather modification program. No, it's not. Meteorite minerals. Look at the structure of that. Does that look similar? Yeah. Surely does, don't it? I would say so. Very interesting. They know what they're doing. If you look at the grid, how it's built up, this is hexagons. These are squares. We do have squares, you know. Just showed you that. Got them down. There. It's just right down in your face. Pretty astounding. Pretty astounding. See that? Aluminum oxide structure. Right? Yep. And when they fan out like that, that is because they're starting to crystallize. They're already being bombarded with frequencies, either from space or from Earth. I don't really know, and I don't want to postulate that it's from Earth or from space, because I don't know. Or maybe this is being formed naturally because of what's going on in space. So when they're laying it out already, the rays, frequencies, vibrations coming from the interaction from our sun and our brown dwarf is already doing this. I don't know. I really don't know. Funny flight pattern, right? That was yesterday. Fresh trail up there. Look how that one just shoots around and take a turn. That's Oklahoma. So speaking about Oklahoma, is being hammered with chemtrails. Freaking all the time. I'm driving up there a lot of times. That's not Nibiru. Just a flare. And that's how digital cameras make lens flares. It's not like the old cameras. So I don't know, when looking at this picture, is it them? These cell phone towers that is doing it, that creates these shapes? Or is it because of the sun and the brown dwarf? Look at that. Extremely thin layer of crystalline grid in our atmosphere, and the sun is completely obscured. Totally. Utterly. All around it you see the crystalline grid. Pretty profound, isn't it? Insane. But we have something out there. And it's not going away for a while. At least for the next 7 years, it's going to be there, wreaking havoc here down here. And day by day, it's going to get worse, worse, and worse, and worse. Look at that flight pattern again. That's completely normal. That's how airplanes fly in the sky. They just do a 180 right. Not likely. So I kind of presented to you now something that I have not looked at before. And I can thank Kathleen for that, making me think out of the box that something else is going on here. It's very tricky. Look at the shadow this one is casting. This is also from yesterday. Look at the area here, how it's darkened. But there isn't anything, but it's still darkened. Look at that. Crystalline foaming. See that? All of it. Very interesting. Look at that. All crystalline. Look how the light is being obscured. Look how it kind of looks like the light is being trapped. It's unbelievable. But it's because of crystals. And I was reading something about this chemtrailing, that they have an agenda in this chemtrailing to scatter the light. And what is good at scattering the light? Crystals. Think about a prism, what it can do, how it can direct light, how it can break the light up into a rainbow, just like water droplets do. When the angle of 42 degrees reached, you see a rainbow. But just look at that. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it looks so surreal. And it's all crystalline. All of it is crystal. It's bloody amazing. I don't know what's going on. Other than I'm pretty sure that I'm correct on this. And it also serves another purpose, Project Bluebeam. Because they're spraying barium. Look at the light, you've got square there. Isn't it amazing? The light is freaking square. What? That is not real, but it is. You can't see that with your naked eye because you'll be so blinded you can't freaking see it. You need to take a picture of it. Taken through night vision glasses, polarized, to get some contrast to it. Look how the light is cut off. That you can only get by using crystal technology. And barium is the surface on the backside of your old TV screen. This barium, which is able by frequency to show all the colors that exist in our world. It looks crazy. I don't like it. But I can't understand what they're doing. Why they're doing it. Look at the light right down this image. Unfortunately, the sun is not down. But look down. Square, completely cut. It's unbelievable. See how they can trap the light, how they can scatter the light, how they can manipulate. All of it is chemtrails. All of it. It's bloody amazing. Oh, regarding that, I got a water compass, most like the ones you got in boats. In some areas, when I'm driving, this one spins many evolutions before it comes to a complete normal stop. Right now I'm going west, but sometimes when I'm going in a certain direction and a certain spot, maybe I should pay attention to exactly where it happens. This one starts to spin around like there's a magnetic anomaly. I mean, it's spinning. It just starts rotating, and I'm just looking at it. What the hell? Why is it doing that? But it is. I'm not kidding. Just finish it up fast. I'm almost at the end of the journey. Almost. Look at it. Comes in all shapes and sizes. Right? And it's all crystalline. Look at that. See the structures? You don't only have to zoom in, you can see it. You can see it with the naked eye. It's right there. Bloody unbelievable. And look at all the differences there is in the properties of these chemtrails. See that? Some of it looked like something, and some of it is just, I don't know how to describe it. And here's a super sprayer coming in. And I mean super sprayer, that one was laying out a fig one. And that's down where I'm dropping my last load before going home on weekend. Look at all the... And then look at all the stuff on the bottom. Look how defined it is. This you can only obtain by using crystal technology. That's what I believe. And again, the sun. I mean, what's going on? So this is the end of the journey. So at the same time as they are trying to protect us, back to first image, they are also building a TV screen so they can emulate images on our sky. You will need to look into Project Bluebeam in order to get knowledge about what that is about. But this is what I believe they're doing. It's not good what they're doing. But I think it might just be necessary. Even though we don't like it. Because I don't. I hate seeing this. I really do. So that's the end of the journey of this video. If you don't mind. Okay. Over and out. And God bless you. I hope you agree with what I'm saying here. Until next time. Result of this planetary system that is in our system right now and has been for quite some time, and we will later discover the negative effects from that. Now, she says, I suspect that the gas sphere fully envelops the Earth. We will experience a brief abeyance of gravity in elevated areas, similar to the effects when the pre-Inca built the monolithic stone structures in the Andes. Yeah, how did they get that stuff up there, these gigantic rocks? Yeah, that's a good question. We might have a dim sun, but high energy at the most basic biological level. I believe the sun is living. And yeah, just everything is alive in one form or another. It's all about frequency, it's all about vibration, it's all about energy, all of it. And Tesla knew that. And he had the answer, and he is probably the smartest scientific genius that has ever walked this planet. And all his knowledge is now being used for evil, unfortunately. But, well, that's what you can expect from the military-industrial complex, of course. Well, the immersion would be similar to what W. Thornhill. I've been trying to look this person up, and I can't find this person. I come up with all kinds of different stuff and nothing about a scientist. Described as being off the surface of a planet bathed in the radiation of a brown dwarf. And she says, I believe an additional effect would be massive falls of water. Maybe that pertains to the flood. All these effects would depend upon if and how deep Earth is immersed into the brown dwarfs, the gas sphere's gaseous cloud. That's what she said. And I honestly said to her, I've never heard about this before. A couple of years ago, I was watching a video here on YouTube regarding a crystalline grid that is being made around our planet as we speak. And I have been dealing with the chemtrails for a very long time, been recording on the road since 2012, and I have a front row seat to what's actually going on up in the sky. And I got several different videos, and I think I'm gonna make a playlist, so in order, if anybody wants to pick up on it and, you know, take interest in what's going on. But what really got me started on my train of thoughts here in the last 24 hours is that Kathleen Cisco says something to me, something I had no flipping clue about. I have never heard about this before, but this is very interesting what she's saying here. She's saying that I'm thinking about the time of the Toba explosion 70,000 years ago. The jet stream was actually reversed, which allowed the early civilization to cross from the Yucatan through the West Indies to the Mediterranean. And then the top of the Gulf Stream would facilitate crossing east to west. that would give some explanation to the spirals commonly found on early pottery. Yeah, we all seen the spiral, and everybody is associating that spiral, unfortunately, to the Norway spiral when Mr. Obama was in Norway receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for actually instigating more violence and war here on Earth. But it's all part of the plan to keep us distracted. Well, the early civilization had a Gulf Stream that was a left-hand spiral, and at a time later, perhaps 20,000 years ago, another reversal happened and the Gulf Stream became a right-hand spiral. If telescope. Now, why would they build a telescope on the farthest region on planet Earth, in the most inhospitable environment, where the sun never sets? Why would they do that? Why would they be so secretive about it? That's a good question. And why did the Vatican go in and take a mountain in Arizona, Mount Graham, literally steal it from the natives and put a telescope up there, which they are calling the Lucifer telescope? I mean, just the name, Lucifer. And who is Lucifer? Well, he's the evil one, right? He's the fallen one, the deranged one. But he's also referred to as the serpent, also referred to as a dragon. And if you look at ancient mythology, all cultures or big civilizations are speaking to a dragon. But it's a dragon which is in the sky. It's not a dragon running around here on planet Earth eating people and spewing fire, as ancient stories, or not ancient, but medieval stories about Prince Charming was running out on a horseback in armor and fighting a fire-spewing dragon and saving the princess. That's hogwash. It has nothing to do with that. That's just some, let's make some money on something crappy. It's not the case. And one of my subscribers, I can't remember your name, I'm sorry about that, sir, but you were speaking towards something that was very interesting, that really made me think. And I'm going to look that up right now, and that's coming from the Revelation. And here I'm, of course, taking from the King James Bible, but I better look into it. But I didn't look so far. There's a video I just uploaded prior to this video, which is called PlanetX. Dr. Claudia Alber's guest star. She's an astrophysicist, and she's, as I said, not part of this cult of scientists that is leading us into a scientific dictatorship, such as trying to sell the package of global warming as a man-made disease, or now they have renamed it to climate change, which I say, well, that happens 4 times a year on planet Earth. We got spring, we got summer, we got fall, we got winter, and then the cycle goes on and on and on. We got 4 seasons. That's climate change. Now, thinking about the crystalline grid that they are trying to create around planet Earth in order to protect us against something from outside. Now, why would they do that? What is wrong? Since they need to build a crystalline grid around planet Earth. It sounds very far-fetched, right? oh, this is very ungodly, this sounds like New Age. No, this is science. Okay? Science. It has nothing to do with religion or non-religion. This is just what they described is being done as we speak. Has been doing that for 2 decades now. So why are they doing that? Well, back in 2008, Nibiru shock came with a revelation to the YouTube community by posting a leaked picture of a brown dwarf, a picture which was taken by the South Pole. Tells a planet sun approaching. It would not conform to gravity as we understand it. Dr. Claudia Alberts, who is an astrophysicist living in, I think it's in Brazil, she's located. And she's not part of the so-called mainstream, like, what is his freaking name? Miku Kukuk, or his name is Miku Kaku, but I call him Kuku because he sounds like he's nuts. Explains her theory about this, and I suspect that our sun is producing gas spheres. You have all seen a video once, those who are interested in this realm regarding space, that there's this video footage where the light is in green, and you can see that there's this gigantic sphere leaving the surface of the sun. I mean, literally, it's huge. It's way larger than planet Earth, and it just like pops out of the sun's surface. And I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere on YouTube regarding NASA's footage. I mean, just do a search called sphere leaving the sun or whatever. Or maybe I can find the link myself so you can just go click on it. But it's definitely showing a sphere, like a bubble, is leaving the sun's surface, and it's gigantic. Okay, and then she says, Dr. Albers explained her theory about this. I suspect that our sun is producing gas spheres that proceed into the inner planet's orbits. These gas spheres, basically a condensed, highly magnetic cloud. It would also be insubstantial, as almost no identity in the sky. Its sole identifying characteristic is that it magnetically refracts. This is why we see hazy orbs in the sky, meaning we are not seeing Nibiru, Planet X, but we're seeing something else. And maybe that something else is the result